assuming 3% capital appreciation, you are selling at 940,000. You're actually getting back 429,000 cash 10 years later. Let's talk about why invest into properties. Of course, a lot of people say, I want to make money, but how? The second thing is normally people invest into property to hedge against inflation. If you look at our market right now, everything is increasing in price. The food is become more expensive, the construction material is getting more expensive, labor cost is getting more expensive, land cost is getting more expensive. If you keep your money as cash into the bank account, okay, as FD, you are actually losing, because how much FD is giving you? 2%. So if the inflation is 4 to 5%, in fact, every single year you are losing 3%. So a very good way to hedge against inflation is to put the money into properties, whereby the property will actually appreciate like on par to the inflation. It has to. Why? Because to build properties, you need construction materials, you need labor costs, you need land, and all this, the cost is actually increasing. So the property price will actually increase. Of course, why people buy property? A place to stay, okay, for your children. Right now, if you don't have a property in town, in the major town, like in KL or in PJ, then you need to start to worry your children where they're going to stay in the future. Of course, some people actually buy property for retirement fund. In fact, you can squeeze a lot of money out from your property as a retirement fund. And last but not least, some people buy property for status. Like, wow, if I own this property, very beautiful properties, saya ada muka lah. Okay, I have face. Okay, so now we want to understand capital appreciation. Let me give you a scenario. This year, 2022, if you buy a property at 700,000 and 10 years later, 2032, you sell the property at 800,000. How much money you're going to make? You actually make 100,000 profit. But is that actually what you make? Actually, no. You actually make a lot more because if you are investing in the property, you rent out the properties, right? The rental will actually reduce your loan. So I'll show you the actual calculation how much you're going to make if you're actually buying at 700,000 and sell at 800,000. So before I go into that, you have to understand the concept of principal and interest. So this is a loan amortization schedule. Let's say I buy a property at 700,000 and I get the 90% loan, which is 630,000 at 3% interest rate, which is the current interest rate for 35 years. So initially, if you look at this, the first payment, you have to pay an installment of 2,400 ringgit. But within this 2,400 ringgit, 849 ringgit is a principal, 1,575 ringgit is an interest. Okay, interest you cannot claim back, is to the bank. The principal is to reduce your balance. If you can see, each payment, your principal amount is actually increasing and the interest is actually reducing. So 10 years later, which is 120 payment, okay, if you pay every month, then it's 120 payment. Your balance on the loan is actually reduced from 630,000 to 511,000. So in fact, if you sell 10 years later, you get back a lot more money. But then you might ask, hey, what about the interest I have to pay to the bank? Ladies and gentlemen, that's a powerful way things about property investment. You can actually rent your property out. Let's say you are renting just to cover the payment, 2,400 ringgit. Someone is actually subsidizing your property investment. Okay, you don't have to pay anything, but 10 years later, you get back all this money in one go. Then you might ask also, hey, 2,400 ringgit can rent. I show you some of the data. Okay, this is taken in Bukit Jalil. If you can see the photos, this is 700 square feet unit, renting at 2,005. This is 1,000 square feet unit, renting at 3,002. This is 2,006, 3,005. In fact, if you do your property nicely, like the one on the right hand side with proper renovation, you can actually fetch up to 3,500 ringgit for 3 bedrooms, current market value. Then you might say, hey, my friend have this property, cannot rent also, cannot rent at good price. Well, then you have to ask what property is that, what location is that, and did he actually do his renovation? 700,000, I sell at 800,000, my profit is 100,000 capital appreciation. But in fact, at 2032, my loan amount is actually 511,000, reduced from the 630,000 previously. Why? Because I already pay off the principal. Who pay off? My tenant pay off, not I pay. So if you only sell at 800,000 10 years later, which is highly profitable, right? If you own a property now, 10 years later, you only sell like 100,000 more. It's very, very possible. How much money are you going to get back? you're actually getting back 288,000. What if the appreciation is more than 800,000? So now, assuming 3% capital appreciation, you are selling at 940,000. You're actually getting back 429,000 cash 10 years later. The next topic that I want to talk about is to understand rental yield. There are actually a few different ways to calculate rental yield. Okay, one is called a gross rental yield. The other way is called a cash-to-cash rental yield. Okay, how do we distinguish these two? Let me give you an example. Let's say I take the property just now, 700,000. If I can rent 3,000 a month, normally how we calculate is take 3,000, multiply by 12, that's 36,000. And that return is 5%. You take 36,000 divided by 700,000. Okay, that's 5.14%. Okay, this is called a gross rental yield. It gives you a feeling of the property, whether the rental yield is good or not. 5% nowadays is actually okay lah. Not very good, not very bad. So, but cash to cash rental yield, you have to take into account of the initial down payment that you actually pay to own this property. For example, on the left hand side, this one, okay, if I'm buying 700,000, I have to pay 10% down payment, which is 70,000. I get a loan of 630,000. My monthly investment is 2,400. This is the installment. And rental per month, let's say 3,000. So I have a net cash flow of 500 ringgit, 575 ringgit. So my net cash flow per year is 6,900 ringgit. So you take 6,900 ringgit, divide by the initial down payment that you actually come out from. This is the money that you come out from your pocket. Then you get a 9.86%. So this is called a cash-to-cash rental yield. But on the other hand, if you buy some of the properties with rebate, okay, nowadays a lot of property with rebates, you don't have to come out with so much money. Okay, let's say I come out with 8% rebate, I only pay 2%, which is 14,000. Of course, my loan has to be higher. On the left hand side, you have to pay 70,000. On the right hand side, I only pay 14,000. My monthly investment is slightly more because I'm getting a bigger loan, but it's only 200 ringgit more. If I still rent out at 3,000 ringgit per month, my net cash flow is slightly reduced, 300 plus ringgit. But you see, my ROI, my return on investment is actually 3 times compared to this. Why? Because my initial outflow of cash is a lot less. Here, I have to come up with 70,000. Here, I only come up with 14,000. So my ROI is 30%. So in investment, there's one very important thing is we need to know how to leverage on other people's money. What is other people's money? It means bank money. So right now, I want to talk about SME loan and properties. So this is my business called NNC Plastic. So how we actually grow this business is like this. Using this concept of banking facilities or banker acceptance. For example, these goods are actually imported from China. I have to pay the supplier. But if I don't use cash to pay them, I can actually use a loan to pay them. I go to the bank, I ask a loan from the bank so that they can give me a certain amount of loan, and then I can use this loan to buy goods from my supplier in China. And then the goods will be sent to Malaysia, and then I sell to my local distributor. I sell to my clients. So how to get this loan? Normally, you need collateral. So property is the best collateral. So how it works is like this. Let's say I own a property 1 million. Then this property has a for sale value. This one is done by the valuer. Normally it's 70% of the property price, which is 700,000. Now, normally the bank can offer up to 2.5 times the for sale value as your loan, which is 1.75 million. 700,000 times 2.5 is 1.75 million. So I want to buy this property, I have to pay the seller, right? So I take a loan for the property, which is 85%. For industrial or for commercial, it's actually 85%. So 870,000. So I have to come up with a capital of 150,000 to make up of 1 million, right? 85% loan, 15% is my down payment. Then this bank offer 1.75 million minus off my 850,000 loan, I still have 900,000. I own this property. Then on top of that, I have 900,000 trading facilities, which I can use to buy stocks from my supplier and do business.